There is one thing in Britain that is supposed to be, by definition, not for sale. An honour, a knighthood, a CBE, a place on that list the Queen used to sign twice a year. The entire point of it, the only reason it means anything at all, is that you cannot buy it. It's the state's way of saying, out loud, this person gave something money can't measure. It is the country's official receipt for selflessness. And in 2021, that promise cracked. Not in some minor charity nobody's heard of. It cracked in the most damaging place it possibly could have, around the charitable foundation of Prince Charles himself, the future King of England, the man who was, at that very moment, the living embodiment of the honors system, because one day soon, every knighthood in the land would flow, symbolically, from him. The allegation, and it became serious enough that the police actually looked at it, was that help had been offered to secure an honor, and even British citizenship, for a Saudi billionaire donor. A price, effectively, on the one thing that was never supposed to have one. And the man who resigned over it wasn't some junior fixer nobody could name. It was Michael Fawcett, the aide so close to Charles that Charles himself once reportedly said he could not manage without him. Not a stranger, the right hand of his entire adult life. Gone. Over honors that were never meant to carry a price tag. Now, I need to say something clearly, right at the top, and I'm going to keep saying it, because it matters. No charges were ever brought against Charles. He denied any knowledge of an honor or citizenship being offered in exchange for money. The police eventually closed the case without charging him. I'm not here to tell you the future king committed a crime. Nobody established that. What I want to walk you through is something else, the hypocrisy of it, and a pattern in how this man's world operates that, once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee. And there's one piece of this that turns the whole thing from gossip into something else entirely. A letter, something in writing. Because a rumor is deniable. You can always shrug a rumor off, but paper is not. When you hear what was actually put down on paper, you'll understand exactly why an aide of 40 years suddenly had to disappear. We'll get there. Stay with me. Let's start with the contradiction, because it sits right at the heart of the whole system. Officially, an honor rewards merit, service. Full stop. There is no transaction. You do not apply, you do not pay, you do not negotiate. Someone notices what you've given, quietly, and the state taps you on the shoulder. That is the entire theory of the thing. Now set that beside what was alleged. A paper trail. A suggestion, in writing, that support for an honor was connected to donations. Hold those two things next to each other. On one side, honors cannot be bought. On the other, correspondence that reads like a negotiation. And here's why this isn't just embarrassing. It's structural. The honor system has exactly one job, and that job is to be unbuyable. That's it. That's the whole product. The moment there is a credible suggestion that one of them had a price, even one, every honor handed out anywhere near that orbit inherits a little asterisk, a little question mark. You cannot half corrupt a symbol whose only function in the entire world is to be incorruptible. It's all of it or it's none of it. And this landed on none of it. So now you've got a problem sitting right next to the throne. And it forces a question, a really uncomfortable one, that I want you to actually answer in your head as I lay it out, because there is no gentle way through it. There are two doors here, only two. Door number one, this was a rogue operation. An overzealous aide and a few fixers doing things around Charles, in his name, using his causes, and he had no idea. He was out of the loop entirely. If you walk through that door, here's what it costs you. It means the future king was so detached from his own foundation, the charity, that carried his name and his face, that serious things, police serious things, happened in his name, and he knew nothing about them. Out of the loop. Door number two. This reflected how that world genuinely works. Donors, access, honors, all quietly wired together. Everybody understanding the arrangement without anybody ever having to say it out loud. In the loop. And if you walk through that door, then the I didn't know defense isn't a defense anymore. It's the problem. So which is it? Out of the loop or in the loop? Negligent or complicit adjacent? One makes him a man who couldn't run his own charity. The other makes him a man who understood it perfectly. And notice the trap in that, because those are the only two options his defenders have, and both of them are bad. Usually when someone's accused of something, there's a clean exit. He didn't know because there was genuinely nothing to know. That exit isn't available here because something clearly happened. The only argument on the table is where Charles was standing when it happened. Near it or far from it. And far from it, for a man who's meant to be in charge, is not the comfortable answer people think it is. Pick your door, genuinely. Tell me in the comments which one you buy, because I read them, and I already know this one is going to split people straight down the middle. There is no third door where the man about to be crowned walks out clean. Now let's talk about what this actually cost, because it's easy to file this under bit of royal awkwardness, and it was so much bigger than that. Start with the police. The Metropolitan Police opened a real investigation. Not an internal review, not a strongly worded letter, an actual criminal investigation into cash for honors allegations connected to the foundation. Sit with that for 1 second. The police, investigating the charity of the man who was about to become head of state. In the run-up to him becoming head of state, you could not script a worse collision of words. Police, honors, the heir's charity, all in the same headline. Then there's Fawcett. He stepped back, and then he resigned permanently. And you have to understand what that man was to Charles to feel the weight of it. This was the single most important non-royal figure in Charles's entire adult life. A man who had served him since the 1980s. Someone who, it was said, could do for Charles the things nobody else could. The fixer, the closer, the man who made problems go away. Think about the sheer length of that. 40 years. Longer than most marriages. Longer than most people's entire careers. A man who had been at Charles's side through the divorce, through Diana, through every storm the House of Windsor threw at him. That relationship, relationship, decades deep, severed over this. And the foundation itself faced a governance overhaul, a top-to-bottom review of how it was run. The old way of doing things, dismantled. And every bit of this unfolded in the final stretch before Charles took the throne. The worst possible timing. A man months away from a crown he'd waited 70 years for, and the story attached to his name isn't service or duty, it's a police file. Okay, this is the moment I promised you at the start. Let's open it. The vault. Because for all the noise, the resignation, the police, the reviews, the thing that actually turned this from whispers into a formal investigation was documentary. It was the reporting around correspondence. The suggestion, in writing, that the foundation would help support an honor and support an application for British citizenship for the Saudi donor in the context of his very substantial giving. That is the knockout, and I want you to feel why. It wasn't a whispered deal in a corridor. It wasn't a nudge and a wink over dinner where everybody can later claim they misremembered the evening. It was a documented, on-paper link between money given and status sought, between a donation and a knighthood, between cash and a passport. And that changes everything because of what paper does. A rumor you can kill. Oh, that's just gossip. That's just people talking. You know how these things get. Exaggerated. But the instant a thing is written down, the instant there's a letter, coincidence dies on the spot. You can't call it a misunderstanding when it's in ink. You can't say it was taken out of context when the context is right there in the sentence above it. The moment it's on paper, the deniability is gone and a police file opens. And think about the specific things being connected in that correspondence. Not a vague favor, not we'll put in a good word, an honor, one of the state's highest forms of recognition, and citizenship, the legal right to be British, to hold the passport, to belong, two of the most guarded, most symbolically loaded things a country can hand out, sitting in the same paragraph as a donation figure. That's not a gray area. That's the thing the honors system exists specifically to prevent, described in writing, near the future king's own charity. That letter is the hinge. The entire scandal turns on it. That's why a man of 40 years' loyalty had to go. Not because of what someone said, but because of what someone wrote. And here's the part that I think is the most revealing of all, because this isn't a one-off. This is a pattern, and it rhymes almost perfectly with other stories around this same man. Charles's world runs on trusted fixers, people who get things done for the cause, quietly, while the boss himself is kept at a convenient distance from the actual mechanics of how it got done. And Fawcett was the ultimate expression of that. The man who made problems disappear for decades. And here's the detail that tells you everything. This wasn't even the first time Fawcett had been caught in controversy. He'd been in the headlines before, more than once, over how he operated. And more than once, he'd been eased out and then quietly brought back. Because Charles valued loyalty and results over caution every single time. So the flaw here isn't greed. I want to be precise about that. It isn't that Charles is grasping for money. The man is going to be king. He doesn't need a donor's check. The flaw is subtler and, honestly, more damning. It's a lifelong tolerance for people who bend the rules on his behalf, as long as he personally never has to watch them do it. Keep the useful man close. Keep the mechanics at arm's length. And when it blows up, you can say, truthfully, that you never saw a thing. And that arrangement is almost perfectly designed to produce exactly what happened here. Because think about the incentive it creates for the fixer. If your entire value to the most important man in your life is that you get results, that you make the impossible happen, that you deliver what the causes need, then over time you start doing whatever it takes to keep delivering. The boss never asks how. The boss doesn't want to know how. And so the how drifts, quietly, year after year, into territory the boss would never sign off on if he were actually watching. The distance isn't an accident. The distance is the whole system. It's what lets a good man's good causes get funded by methods the good man can always disown. Until, one day, it's in writing, and then nobody can disown anything. Which brings us to the defense itself. Because there was one. And in fairness, I'm going to lay it out properly. Charles, it was stated, had no knowledge of any offer of honors or citizenship in exchange for donations. The foundation cooperated with the review. Investigations were commissioned. And, as I've told you and will keep telling you, the police eventually concluded the matter without any charges against him. That's all real. That's on the record. State it fairly, and I do. But now look at the shape of that defense. Really look at it. The whole thing rests on one pillar, total distance. He knew nothing. It happened in his name, but without his awareness. He was not involved in the mechanics. And here's where the reassurance quietly turns into something worse. Because a future head of state whose repeated defense across more than one scandal is essentially, I had no idea what was being done in my name, for my own causes, by my own closest people. That is not actually reassuring. Think about it. You're either telling me the man cannot control the organizations that carry his name, or you're telling me he's chosen not to know. And this is the line I want you to hold on to, because it's the whole video in one sentence. Innocence by obliviousness, used once, is a defense. Used again and again and again, it stops being a defense. It becomes a character description. Now hold that up against what the honor system is supposed to be, because the moral core of this is almost too neat. The monarch is called the fountain of honor. That's the actual phrase. Every knighthood, every damehood, every ribbon and medal in the country flows, symbolically, from the crown. The sovereign is the ultimate guarantor, the human promise that honor cannot be bought. And the allegation here was that near the crown's own heir, honors had a rumored price and a paper trail. The very person whose future job is to be the living guarantee that you can't put a price on this stuff, the institution around him is exactly where somebody, reportedly, asked how much in writing. The guarantor's own house house is where the guarantee is alleged to have failed. You don't need me to add outrage to that. Just say it plainly and let it sit. So where does that leave everyone when the smoke clears? Let's count who's actually standing. Fawcett, cut loose. 40 years of service, and when the heat came, the loyalty only ran in one direction. He was the expendable one. The foundation, restructured. Its old leadership dispersed. The way things used to be done, gone. And Charles himself, publicly silent, letting distance and process do the defending for him, the way it always does. And here's the strange thing about even the ending. The eventual no charges outcome, and I keep coming back to it because it's true and it's fair, it closed the legal question. But it never warmly closed the moral one. It isolated him rather than vindicating him. The law said, we're not proceeding. The law did not say, he was a fool to have this happen, or he was wise and clean. It just stopped. And when your defense succeeds only in the narrowest legal sense, when even your closest man of 4 decades turns out to be expendable the moment he threatens the throne, then the throne is standing pretty much alone. Which, and this is the uncomfortable thought, might be exactly how the throne is designed to survive. It sheds people. It always has. And here's the part that can't be undone. Fawcett is gone, and he isn't coming back. Not this time. And the police file, closed as it is, cleared as Charles was, is still part of the permanent record. It traveled onto the throne with him. It's in the story now, forever, sitting quietly next to the crown. So let me leave you where I think this actually rests. And I'm going to be scrupulously fair one more time because it matters. The police brought no charges against Charles. He says he knew nothing. The case was closed. I'll state that as plainly as I possibly can. But the honor system only works if all of us, every one of us, believe the same thing, that it cannot be bought. That's the deal. That's the only thing holding it up. And this case put the exact opposite proposition in writing, right next to the future king's own charity. So here's my question for you, and I genuinely want your answer. Do you buy he had no idea again? Or has that particular answer been used one too many times to still land? Out of the loop or in the loop? Tell me below. I read every one. And if this one got under your skin, wait until you hear the story that sits right beside it, because the same foundation, the same world, the same distance defense shows up in an even stranger form. 3 million euros. In cash. Handed over in person. In shopping bags. From a Qatari politician to the future king himself. Same pattern, different container. That one's waiting for you right here, and trust me, you'll want to see where the money actually went. I'll see you in it.